Hello everyone, we want to welcome you all back to our channel, The Art of Self. My name is Asada, I'm here with
Fernanda.
And today we have our special guest, Ramses.
Thank you for having me on.
Yes,
The Art of Self. It's wonderful to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on with us. And we wanted to talk with Ramses today. We wanted to bring you on our show so that you could teach us more about Kemetic Yoga.
Yes. Well, just a little bit about my background. I had a career as a nurse at one point, a lifetime ago. I worked in the surgical field in orthopedics and neurospine, and I was a surgical first assist. And having this background allowed me a viewpoint of the human body that most people don't get. And what I saw was disappointing, especially within our community. I saw how the stress, I saw how the anger and depression and the imbalances were affecting our insides and our joints, and it was causing lots of inflammation. This constant state of, especially being in the States, the constant state of dis-ease that we were in was manifesting into all types of disease. And I realized that the position that I was in was actually part of the problem, and I wanted to help people in a different way before they had to be on the operating table spending thousands of dollars. Like, there's things that we can do for ourselves in the comforts of our own home, absolutely free. No one is going to have our best interest in mind, especially our health and wellness and peace and joy, but us, ourselves. So I ended up leaving the medical field, hung up my white coat, and traded it in for a yoga mat. Had a health and wellness business at one point. A lot of people don't know this. Like, the start of this whole journey was in 2019. Well, in 2016, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it was the size of a tennis ball. And they don't know where it came from. No one really knows where these things come from. I attribute it to a lifetime of stress and everything. Like, that's one of the things that happens. It comes from the inflammation. And they took what they could out, but that was like kind of a turning point for me. Not an immediate turning point, but a slow turning point. Like, I started asking myself some questions, like, what, is my lifestyle the optimal for life, to sustain life? And then in 2019, I made the decision to just completely turn my lifestyle around, and through changing my habits and the way I ate and the environment that I was in, the people that I was hanging out with, I ended up losing 100 pounds over the course of a year. And I needed something to basically kind of rebuild my body, and that's where yoga came in. 2020 hit, and the pandemic, and we were all sitting at home on our computers and everything, and I decided to go to yoga teacher training during this time. And the traditional yoga the path that I was on, it was great, but there was something missing. There was nothing that was really speaking to my spirit, and nothing that was helping me empower myself in this black male body that I was in, especially having to step outside in the world, who was giving me example after example of how unvalued I was in the world. I needed something to help empower me and to help helped me connect with the ancestor within myself. And that's where Kemetic Yoga came in. You know, they have that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will present itself. And that's kind of what happened to me. I just went on a journey of searching. I found Kemetic Yoga, and you know, to be completely honest, when I saw it, you know, I just Googled. I was like, black people in yoga, and you know, I saw black people doing yoga, like other forms of yoga, other practices of yoga. But then I saw Kemetic Yoga, and there's another practice called Smai Tawi, which translates into Egyptian yoga, which is a completely different practice. Both African in origin. They both come from the same Nile Valley Delta region, but they are two different practices. And I'll be honest, when I first saw this, I thought it was fake. I thought it was something somebody was making up, you know. And that goes back to us second guessing our true innate magic, and these ancient practices that we have forgotten and that have been taken away from us. And we have been conditioned to second guess those, and to say, you know, to have it be taboo, or, you know, to have religious practices that we have adopted, push them away. Our ancestral, you know, knowledge and wisdom and practices and things. But as soon as I started practicing it, it felt like the ancestors giving me a hug. Like, I just remember I started crying the first few times that I started practicing it, and it just immediately spoke to my spirit. And you know, whenever you like meet your person, and there's like no doubt, there's no question, like this is what these practices were for me. And like from that point forward, there was nothing else for me. Like I had found my medicine.
That's nice. Thank you for sharing, because this is my first time meeting Ramses and hearing his story right here. And there's so many things that are such a coincidence on many levels, on many people who start this journey, which starts with themselves. Like it's an issue that they're going through, or they're not able to, you know, find peace or find health on their body, their mind, and it's all connected, as we know. And just sharing that you went through, you know, your own medical issue, and being on the medical field is really interesting too, because you have both sides. And yeah, thank you for sharing, and just knowing more about Kemetic Yoga. That's the one thing that I want to know also more and dig a little bit deeper, because I know not that much. I think it's something that is not being explored as much by many people. We know more of the traditional yoga, like you said, and just when we decided to have you in our show, I started kind of checking about Kemetic Yoga, and just knowing it was, you know, came from so-called Egypt, but it's Kemet.
Kemet,
And yeah, so it sounds very interesting, and it feels, like you said, kind of more connected to us, because it is from a region that also speaks to us as Black woman or man. So yeah, I don't know if Asada has any questions, but I want to know a little bit more about the differences between Kemetic Yoga and the yoga that we know nowadays.
The yoga that we're taught, So Kemetic Yoga originates from the region of the Nile Delta Valley that we know today. We call it Egypt. Egypt is the Greek name. For thousands of years before it was called Egypt, it was called Kemet, which means, or Kim. It can have several different meanings. It can mean the color of the skin of the people that were there, the black skin. It could mean the black nutrient-filled silt and soil that came every year when the Nile flooded. The Nile was the only reason that civilization was able to thrive in the way that it was. They could plan their lives, generations after generation after generation, off of the flooding of the Nile. So it's very, very important. And you know, over the centuries, they, as the African spiritual practices, they include mind, body, and spirit. And Kemetic Yoga was about, before the Kemetic Yoga, just the people that were there, they were in harmony with nature. This harmony was considered Ma'at, the goddess Ma'at. She represents the balance, the cosmic principles that basically hold the universe together, nature together. You've probably heard of the saying, keep your heart as light as a feather. This comes straight from like the mythology of Ma'at. When we transition into the afterlife or the duat, our hearts are weighed on the scales of Ma'at against her feather. And if your heart is as light as her feather, the scales are balanced and you get to keep going on the journey. If not, then you go back and do it over again. So very important principles. They study nature. In Kemetic Yoga, we, like all the poses that we do, are related to the netters, or the neteru. The netters are another word for the gods and goddesses. And the poses that we do represent the gods and goddesses. And when we come into the poses, we embody what the gods and goddesses represent. The word nature originates from the word netter. So the gods and goddesses represent aspects of nature. The nature without, like the air, Shu represents the air that we breathe. The water, the ocean is Nu. The heavens, the sky, the night sky is Nut. The earth is Geb. You have Asar and Aset, and they're all aspects of the elements of nature that came together for creation.
Which is an aspect of God.
Which is God. It's the totality of God.
Yeah.
And what we do when we come into these poses is we basically come to the understanding that like there is no separation between the nature without, because the nature without is the nature within. As above, so below, as without, so within. And we come into harmony with that. And that harmony, one of the principles of Ma'at is harmony. And harmony, balance, truth, justice, reciprocity. And that's the goal of Kemetic Yoga, is for us to come into harmony with ourselves, with the world around us. Is to know, basically to lead us back to source. The source of the cosmos, the source of, because the closer we get to, that's like getting closer to God. The closer you are to getting to God, the closer you're getting to yourself. The more you know God, the more you know yourself. Also, when we come into these postures and poses, and we're embodying the gods and goddesses, like we're almost becoming them. So it helps us to realize that we are divine, that we are actually, I don't know how deep you all get, but we are actually these gods and goddesses. Like we are these, it's our goal to become more like them. Like that's our goal, is to realize our own divinity and to come into harmony with that. So these poses, they strengthen our minds, they strengthen our bodies, they strengthen our spirits. Like I said, they help me reconnect with the ancestor within myself. They help affirm me, where I'm not looking at outside sources for my affirmation, for my to say, for that pat on the back for myself. Like, I'm able to give that to myself. So Kemetic Yoga, it's a system that was developed by the priests, the sages, the knowledge givers, the wisdom givers of Kemet. I'm not sure if you've heard of the mystery schools in Kemet, but there were basically schools of knowledge of this world that we live in. So they taught mathematics, they taught architecture, they taught the sciences, they taught what we would consider today magic. But it was just like the spiritual aspects, the subtle aspects of this world, and basically how like nature worked. You would go to these schools for at least like 40 years. All of the Greek people that we know, like Pythagoras and Aristotle and all of them, they went to the mystery schools and learned these. When Alexander the Great took over Egypt, he took a lot of the scrolls and the scripts and manuscripts out of the temples, out of the schools, and brought them to his library. But he had great respect for he wasn't there to conquer. He was basically there. That's a whole other story. But yeah, Kemetic Yoga, it's a practice that heals. When I was, I told you I reclaimed my health, losing the weight. It helped heal my body. It's a practice that strengthens the spine. It's about moving. It's about the flow of energy through our energy centers up and down the spine, and that's what we do with our breath, our shu. We use our intention. We use our mind to take this energy. In other practices, it may be called chi. It may be called prana. Within the Kemetic practice, it's called sekem. It's that life force energy that we try to harness and we try to cultivate and we try to move throughout the body so we can just be more abundant beings on this planet. But we use the breath to move that energy up and down the spine, strengthening the spine, strengthening the mind, strengthening the body. And I use this practice to heal my spine. Like, I was on all types of painkillers and surgeons, same doctors that I'm working with, that I'm seeing I'm seeing the patient outcome when they're cutting on people, and they're like, oh, we can cut your spine open and give you a fusion. I'm like, thanks, no thanks. So yeah, Kemetic Yoga helped heal my body. It helped heal my mind. It helped heal my spirit. When I talk about balance and the gods and goddesses, there's certain god poses that represent the masculine. There's certain goddess poses that represent the feminine. And this practice helped me bring balance to myself. In the societal structures that we come from, and especially black men, we're in this extremely hyper masculine energy. We breathe with our chest out. We gotta feel like we gotta prove ourselves. We're so in our masculine for so many different reasons. Like, I'm not blaming any one thing, but so many different reasons. But this helped me embrace the feminine aspects that we all have. Like, in nature, there's the balance, there's the masculine and the feminine. Everything has both. Nature has come into balance with that, and that's why everything is working. But we usually have an imbalance. But these practices help me embrace that feminine aspect to empower the masculine. And it empowers because it brings balance. So when we talk about certain poses, like the pose of Osset. You may know her as Isis. Osset is the Kemetic name for Isis. Osset represents divine wisdom, divine intuition, divine love. She's like the great mother. She's the great companion, great wife of Asar. Another word for Asar is Osiris. That's the Greek name. But they balance each other. They balance each other. And when I come into the pose of Osset, like I'm embracing her qualities that reside within me, that reside within you, that reside within you. Many women that practice as well, they realize how much that they sometimes have an imbalance as well. Also because of the societal structures that we operate in, women sometimes have to operate in their masculine far too often, and they may not even realize it. This helps them. It helps us all just bring balance to ourselves, to our beings, to our bodies, to our spirits, and it's a practice that has saved me in every way, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, even financially, all the leads. I say all the leads, because it helped me recognize how to become an alchemist, how to rewrite the narrative that we've been told and sold of our origins, or where we're coming from, who we were before they named us. Like you can sit with that, and whatever that means to you, where we're going as a community, as a people. It helped me take charge of my healing. Often we place our healing in the hands of people that don't have our healing in their best interest, and it allowed me to take that back and reclaim that, and that's why I basically gave up the life that I had before, the medical field, and pursuing all the things, checking all the boxes off that people say we got to check off to be successful. The house, the car, the living in this neighborhood, the 6-figure salary, all of that was leaving me empty and just not fulfilled. And Kemetic Yoga allowed me the foundation to build upon, where I could look in the mirror and love who was looking back at me. And I'm just blessed to be able to share these practices and to live them as well. I get to go.
That's really great. Yeah, that's really great information. And so, would you say that you get more from Kemetic Yoga than any other type of yoga? For a beginner, a person who doesn't know anything about yoga and they're trying to decide which yoga to enter into.
Well, I'll say this: yoga, all yoga in its origins is good. Mm-hmm. Is good for you. Yoga is a science. It's a healing methodology. It's thousands of years old. It comes from a place of true essence of healing. Connection. And that's for most forms of yoga. I don't know about things that have come out in the past decade or so, or a little bit longer, but in its truest origins, it's all good. So, doing any type of movement with the body is good. Any type of breathing, meditation is good. You're going to be better with it than without it, I can tell you that. But when you have a certain practice that speaks to you in a certain way where it is your medicine. Like it is, like penicillin works for a lot of things, right? But when you need a certain type of medicine that's going to like really, like that came from your people, with your knowledge, your wisdom from generations, like your ancestors, the wisdom, when it speaks directly to you, like there's nothing that can substitute that. There's nothing that can substitute that. And other forms of yoga have origins in the Kemetic practices. So, like I said, Kemetic yoga was practiced thousands of years before like yoga reached India. You can debate me. People love to debate me. I don't debate it. Like it is. This is what I believe. And I just look at history, like actual history, not what we've been told and sold. You know, it's really interesting when people want to control you and like devalue and disenfranchise you. Like they'll tell you what they want you to know. But once you start studying and you realize, you're like, wait a minute, this isn't what you all do. Wait a minute. So what I was taught was Kemetic yoga was practiced thousands of years before yoga reached any other place. What history tells us is that after the fall of Kemet, the sages, the priests who taught these things, who passed down this knowledge, they left, they scattered. And where did they go? They went into what we now call India. They traveled that way over however long it took. You know, it wasn't a few days. It took a couple hundred years. And they were called the Dravidians. And so when you look at yoga that comes from India and yoga that comes from Kemet, you will see similarities. In the mythology, you see the similarities. In some of the poses and the gods and goddesses, you see similarities. But this was practiced thousands of years before, you know, India was even a civilization. And this is just what history tells us. So yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I think all of the different, because we are here in Yucatan, which is Mayan land, and there's a lot of similarities of some things in the Mayan tradition too. Not that I don't know much about yoga, but I think in terms of Egypt and you know, they have the pyramids there, they have a pyramid here, and in terms of being respectful to nature, you know, that's pretty much what the Mayans used to practice and to proclaim and try to make sure it was you know, in harmony with. And that's the same thing in Egypt, and it's also or in Kemet, or it is the same thing. I think things kind of start to spread, and that's the purpose is to spread. And even if it spreads in different ways, in different forms, that's the form that works for that particular nation. That's the form that works for this. And that's the point of everything, is to spread, and so we all have a little piece of the knowledge and a little piece of, you know, this love that nature brings to us. So I think listening to you and listening to some of the things that I've heard from the Mayans, for example, people who are very similar.
Yes. And
then, you know, from India, because I also try my best to practice Ayurveda, and it's very similar too, and they have also the form of yoga, which is probably very similar to the Kemetic yoga. So I think it's everything very connected, and the source of it all is, you know,
it's truth.
It's truth, it's love, it's growth, it's healing.
transformation,
Exactly.
spiritual enlightenment. It's just to better know ourselves. That was one of the reasons why I chose to live in Merida, because of the Mayan culture. I felt called here. Because of the pyramids, because of their spiritual practices, because of their deep knowledge and wisdom and ancestral practices. You can see the similarities between the Mayan glyphs and the Kemetic Medu Neter or hieroglyphics. And like those Mayan hieroglyphs are they're so innate and so complicated and it's amazing how these languages and these writing systems basically spring up out of nowhere. Like they don't know where this stuff came from. So Medu Neter or hieroglyphics, it stands for divine language, and it's the language of the gods, and they don't know where it came from.
It is said that it was all destroyed, all the information that where it came from and all their history, it was destroyed at some point. So that's why we also don't know some of it, a lot of it, but slowly but surely we are recovering the truth and the information, and I think that's what life is too. Like someone was telling that it's almost like a pendulum. Like you go to one side, which is sometimes all this capitalism and all the things, and maybe going to the unhealthy side of ourselves to go back to a more balanced. That's what we are looking. So I think that's what some of us are already back to the other side of the pendulum, but some people are still trying to figure out. But that's what I think we're here to do, right? I think part of this channel is that we got called out to do, which we don't even know. Just let's talk about it. Which is a little bit of this, like someone who might be listening, who might be to the other side of the pendulum, to come back to truth, to health, to knowledge. So that's what it's all about. And we, aside I knew you before, and I've heard about you too. So it's really, really great that you came to talk a little bit about and give us a little light on what Kemetic Yoga is.
Yeah. This is all about just a remembrance. Like we have forgotten so much of the knowledge that used to be passed down to us, all of the knowledge and wisdom of who we are and who we were, and it's ancient practices like this that help us remember. I feel like I've remembered so much. Like you remember past lives, and you remember when we bring that down, it's almost like when you turn the dial on a radio, and to try to find that this is old school. You try to turn the dial on the radio to
turn them on.
When you turn the dial to get to have the station come in better. That's what these practices are about. I believe that like our ancestors are trying to communicate with us all the time. Like we hear the whispers of the ancestors behind our ears. And these practices help us basically tune into those better through alignment of our mind, body, and spirit, and our breath and our intentions. And when we can come in tune with those, then we can receive all of that knowledge and wisdom that of the generations that they've been trying to give to us. I know if I was an ancestor, which I already am, wouldn't you want to help out like your future ancestors? Like, wouldn't you want to try to communicate with them and be like, whoa, hang on, I got some messages for you. And I say that I'm already an ancestor because I truly believe that like Kemetic Yoga has taught me about intention and how it's not just about the present. Like what we do now actively builds the future. And so the things that we do now, the thoughts that we have now, the words that we speak now, the movements that we have now are actively building a future that our future ancestors are already living in. And you know, it really matters. Kemetic Yoga helps me reconnect those severed through lines to the past, present, and future. And when we can do that, we like truly become activated in this existence, in like this life, because then we can communicate.
Yeah, that's
back,
interesting.
back
Like
and forth.
we are somebody's ancestors, right?
Yes,
In the
already.
future,
Yes.
so we are definitely.
You know, it's like you know, in the present. Sometimes we call upon the strength of our past ancestors, and like we're going through a difficult time or whatever, and we're like, oh, you know, whoever, I need you right now, give me some strength and wisdom. In that near distant future that's already in existence, there are future ancestors that are calling upon our names right now for strength and guidance and wisdom. And like the sooner that we know that, the sooner that we embrace it, the sooner that we cultivate and like accept that, it changes the way that we move and think and treat people. Now, you know, Kemetic Yoga has brought me closer to nature, which helps me treat nature better, which helps me like see animals differently, which helps me see people differently, which helps me see myself differently. Like you know, it just helps all the way around. And it's when we lost all of those things, when we lost all of those practices, that's when we started treating each other like poorly. And that's when we started thinking of ourselves poorly and you know, treating our bodies poorly and things like that. But we can turn it around, and we are. And it's conversations like this. It's holding space like this that you know, can change people's minds. And I challenge everybody to like tell your story. You know, our stories are one of the most valuable things that we have, and no one's story is like the next one. So you have a unique story, and your story can end up being somebody else's survival guide.
It's no stories the same, but at the same time, ego is the one that we have to kind of let go, because we're all one at the same time. Right? So my story definitely is special, the same way that your story is special, and your story is special, and just understanding that we're all connected, we're all, you know, one, we are, and even with the differences, I was even telling Asada that my upbringing was more in the Christianity, like that's how I grew up, even though I don't practice nowadays, and I'm more open to many, but I still have, because of my upbringing, I still have the idea and the thought of the God and the one God. But bottom line, what I was telling Asada is every time that I do even a ceremony or an altar or anything with friends of mine that are Buddhist practitioner, or you know, any practitioner. Sometimes my English can.
I understand.
So what I always do is like, I want to be connected with the God of love. I want to be connected with the creator of nature, you know. That's what I want to be connected to whatever we are doing here. So my intention is my intention. Each one of us will have a different intention, and I think if we all come with our own intentions, and as long as we're connecting with something that's pure, that is for the better of humanity, for the intention that we were created, we are all one. That's what it means to me. So no matter what differences we have, if it is regular yoga, Kemetic Yoga, but the intention is love, is growth, is, you know, we're all in the same direction.
To raise our vibrations,
Yeah.
and to just, you know ourselves better, and to understand the world around us better, and how we fit into it, and how we can maintain it.
Exactly.
yeah, it's all like I'm a student of life,
Yeah.
and you know I respect people's views. I was raised Christian as well. A lot of it caused a lot of trauma in me that you know, Kemetic Yoga helped me overcome and heal from. But I also realized, like, I'm a student of other religious practices as well, because I want to understand why people think the way that they think, why they believe in what they believe in. And Christianity has a lot, like, its origins are from Kemet, from Kemetic Yoga. If you, you know, I mentioned my aunt earlier. She has 42 ideals or 42 laws that people who followed my aunt, it was basically, these are the laws that were given for society, for community, for civilization. The 10 Commandments come straight from, every one of the 10 Commandments comes straight from the 42 laws of my aunt. It's like, where did Moses grow up? He grew up in Kemet. They were still practicing Ma'at when he was there. And then he took a sidestep and did his own thing, which is okay. Like, he was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to do my thing over here. But the origins of it come from this historical practice that was practiced there for thousands of years. So you do understand the connections with those things.
Including with different civilizations, like we're talking about the Mayans. Sometimes if you see their what their belief is and some of the things that they believe in terms of what they follow, it's very similar to, like, they had the destruction at some point, which in the Christianity is the flood, and in theirs is like to destroy the ones that were destroying the earth. So they had this in their story too. So things are all very connected if we, you know, if we really stop to understand other cultures and other civilizations, whichever time frame they came from, they have similar stories, and yeah, that shows so much how much we're all connected. Yeah.
Learning more, researching more, not just listening to things that we're told is so important. And you brought up a great point, which is something we're going to talk today about, is setting up an altar. And it's not a religious thing. This is an intentional space, an intentional altar that we're going to set up with you all today and show you how you can create that. And you haven't talked about that, but I know Kemet Yoga, or just being self-intentional, self-aware, having that personal space to go to along there, even after having all the religious teachings being thrown at you, being able to go to your own space and release and meditate, which is really just listening versus asking in prayer. So.
And having an altar is a very special thing. You know, you said intention. You know, the things that you have in your altar space, they all have meaning. They all carry different power and energy. And when we come into these spaces, like there's a tremendous energy that is cultivated, and you can it's a space where you can bring peace in, where you can bring healing in, where you can bring wellness and balance in, and you know, you can call upon your ancestors. You know, altar creation is a very old, ancient practice within just all civilizations. You know, that's something that they have in common. They have altars. They have, you know, they're giving libations and offerings to the ancestors. So this is like nothing new. This is nothing that's evil. This is nothing like, this is what we came from. This is what we've been doing. This is what we're still doing if we were still in like where we came from. So this is something that they're very connected to, and that we should still be connected to, and we are remembering. So it's wonderful that you all are doing that.
Thank you. It's really interesting because I actually met you at your class, the Kemetic Yoga class, which I had never taken before. I've taken different types of yoga, but it was really interesting to experience your class. And the calm demeanor, I mean, it was just like, very peaceful.
I wasn't always like this. Like, yeah, it's like the practice brought me peace within myself, and like I used to be angry all the time. I used to be sad all the time. I used to be depressed all the time. You know, people would say, "Why don't you smile more? Why don't you?" And I was like, "What? Do you see the world that we're living in?" Also, like it's hard to smile when you see example after example of like just how you aren't valued in society. And I was like seeking from other sources. But now that which I was seeking from other sources, I'm able to cultivate within myself. And just, you know, I was unhealthy, mind, body, and spirit. And, you know, just being in a better place health-wise. You know, just have a better outlook on life and a better sense of who I am and who I want to be as well. And it just goes back to that balance and the peace and the wellness and being able to do what I truly want to be doing with my life, which is what I'm doing. Like just, you know, I'm not behind some cubicle. I'm not, you know, I don't have a boss breathing down my neck. I'm not living in the States. You know, we're able to be in community and to help each other and to you know, we can be. We don't have to be anything. Like that's not required. We can just be and figure it out along the way, and that's what our legacy and that's what our true like inheritance is. It's that freedom and liberation of having the space to be.
To be, oh my gosh. That right there. Just look what he did. He said it's right here to the altar. So today we have an altar that we're going to build together. Fernanda, we're going to show Fernanda about altar work here. I just have a box under here, nothing fancy. You can have a table. Anything else you recommend? An encounter space, whatever you choose.
Yeah, just, you know, it could be anything. In any space, you just want it to be free and clear. Like you don't want it to be cluttered with other things that carry other energy and things.
That's important. And I have this yellow scarf. It's of fertility, beauty, yellow. I like yellow. So this is my preference, but you can use any type of fabric that you like. If you want to use fabric, you don't have to do that. Do you use fabric?
I don't use fabric. I have a little built-in altar space that was probably used for like a Catholic altar space.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's nothing in there now. But my things.
Okay.
So it still carries that energy of a spiritual practice. I just changed it up.
Okay. Well, today the first thing I brought for the altar is this crystal. I did know the properties when I first got it, but I've had it for so long, I don't even remember, but it means a lot to me.
What kind? Do you know the name?
I forgot it. I don't. I was in Utah, and there was like a rock store, crystal store, with so many different types, and it's so beautiful, and it's been so peaceful to me. Like wherever I sit this, it just brings peace to the room. So that's why I love it. For me, it's peace. I also have smudge sticks. So I have, this is sage, and it just clears the energy. You can have it on the altar. I like to just have it in my house, period. Just
a necessity.
Right, okay? I mean, I just circle around good people who are there. I
Yeah.
circle them, everyone can get this good energy. Okay. And this is rosemary, because this also clears the energy, the negative energy in a space. So you just burn it. I keep it all together to have it stronger, but you can also break it off, burn little pieces, save a little bit longer. This is also something I have. This is a worry stone. Thumb imprint. This broke and I put it back together, so you might wear it twice.
It's like the original fidget spinner.
Oh, right, yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, I gave a little character when I broke it, but I put it back, it went right back together, and I just still. But so, like you said, the original fidget spinner.
Just to help with anxiety, things that we're going through, thoughts. It actually helps us regulate our nervous system and our autonomic nervous system, and help us regulate our breathing. Just by having this, that's all that they do. And then it being a natural earth material, like it carries the energy of the earth as well, and having that connection to it in our hand, it brings us peace. That's what nature does. No worries.
Yes, no worries. No worries that we put it on the altar.
Yeah.
And then I have Palo Santo, which pretty much is the same as well. I love this one, so calming, and it also is an energy purifier. And here, lastly, I just have my bag of crystals. This is just a bag full of crystals that I've collected from different places that have different properties that, that I just carry with me. And I like to take them to the ocean and cleanse them, or leave them outside in the sun so that they can recharge.
Full moon.
Full moon, yeah, full moon recharge, yes.
Charge of crystals.
Yes, and so I have these here. And Ramses, did you want to add anything?
Yes, I brought a card with Ma'at on it, and she represents the truth, the balance, the reciprocity, the harmony of the cosmos, of nature. She's what holds everything together. You may not be able to see, but so Ma'at, one of her symbols is the ostrich feather, and that's her feather, the feather of Ma'at. And like I said earlier, when we transition, our heart is weighed on the scales of Ma'at against her feather. And it's a very beautiful picture. She has her wings. She's actually sitting on an altar as well. And I like to remind myself that that we are the altars. We are also altars, and we're often taught that we need to sacrifice ourselves for other people, and set ourselves on fire to keep other people warm and things like that. And that's not the case. We are not. You don't have to sacrifice yourself. We're the altar. We're not the sacrifice. And so there's a particular yoga pose that I get in as well, like the bridge pose, and I call it the altar pose. And we're turning our bodies into these altars, and that's what we reflect on and visualize us being the altar. So this is wonderful.
Yeah, that's amazing. Something that we are missing on this altar is water. Water is very important to an altar, so you can just have a little cup. This big cup here on the altar, so we'll have water here.
When are you scheduling your smudge stick making class?
Oh my gosh, I did not make those. But I can.
Yeah.
I can.
I think people will really like that. Just coming together and with intention and making some things.
That would be very nice. Just want to think a little while. I love that. So, yes. So smudge class coming soon. That's an excellent idea. But we're so thankful to have you on our show, because I love to learn. Period. Love to for women, but I feel learning about yoga from a man is different. You know, that's something that you don't typically see. All the yoga classes I've ever taken, which is so many over the years, I've never had a male yoga instructor, but I've met more males living here in Maryland that teach yoga than ever before. So I'm interested in talking to all of you yoga instructors and hearing more about the background. We're both very interested in that, and we're very appreciative of
It's really nice.
Yes.
It's really nice hearing all about Kemetic Yoga and your experience, your thoughts, and we definitely learned a lot.
Yeah, you took all my questions actually.
I know.
Yeah,
It's just like no need.
Yeah, sit back. I've got it.
I get to talking, especially about this and just things that I'm interested in. Like I'm a walking TED Talk. So.
Okay, well, we'll find out something else you have. We'll bring back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know a little bit about a lot, so
Okay.
I can speak on a lot of things.
Okay, well, before we close, I wanted to ask, can you leave us with some breath work that's in the audience so we can?
Yes. So the breath is represented by the god Shu. The breath. Shu is who Ra, the sun, sent to separate Nut, the heavens, and Geb, the earth. They were in a divine embrace in the creation mythology. They were in a divine embrace. And because they were in this divine embrace, the rest of creation wasn't getting done. So Ra was like, wait, we still got work to do. Let me send Shu to separate them. And so Shu is that medium of life that we live in, that sustains our life. Just as fish live in a medium of water that sustains their life, we live in this medium of Shu. And it's Shu, the breath, that separates the heavens and the earth. And if you look up one of the depictions of Shu, it'll be Shu standing like this, separating Nut and Geb. But within the Kemetic Yoga practice, we have a breathing technique called the Rule of Four breathing technique. And in this, first and foremost, for me, I like to visualize a pyramid. Like I'm standing in front of one of the pyramids, in Kemet. And with the breath, I like to visualize that I'm traveling up and down this pyramid. So on one side of the pyramid, let's just say we're at the bottom of the left side of the pyramid, we're empty of breath, and we're breathing with our abdomens, not our chests like we're taught to. The original breathing comes from the abdomen. So we empty out the abdomen and exhale, and we're breathing through our nostrils. And we have our lips closed and the tip of the tongue placed at the roof of the mouth. And this helps with the connection between the left and right brain, but also the masculine and feminine energies. So we're circulating that energy. So we empty out the body of breath, pulling the abdomen in towards the spine. And then we slowly begin to inhale, expanding the abdomen, and we're visualizing traveling up one side of the pyramid for a count of 4. As we inhale and expand the abdomen, and then we reach the top of the breath, the top of the pyramid, and we hold and pause to savor that breath, just as we would pause to savor the view at the top of the pyramid. And then we begin the descent down the other side of the pyramid with the exhale, as we pull the abdomen in towards the spine and exhale slowly for a count of 4. Until we reach the bottom of the breath, or the bottom of the side of the pyramid, and we'll empty a breath again. And then we begin another deep ascent with another inhale for a count of 4. Reaching the top of that breath, reaching the top of the pyramid, pausing to hold that breath, savor that breath, and then we exhale down the other side of the pyramid, pulling the abdomen in towards the spine until we reach the bottom of the pyramid once again. pausing, holding that breath, and then we exhale. And this is what we call the rule of 4 breathing. And you know, you can do this at any time. That's what's so beautiful about this practice is it's a moving meditation. Like you can do it anytime, anywhere. You don't have to be in any particular posture or anything like that. Like I meditate when I'm washing dishes. I meditate when I'm on my bike. I'm meditating when I'm walking. I had a brother ask me, I was in a men's group or a virtual men's group, and they were like, well, how do you meditate? And I was like, I meditate when I walk. And he, like me saying that, like it almost dumbfounded him. He was like, how do you meditate and walk? I was like, well, let me tell you, you can do it anytime. You can do these breathing exercises anytime. What's so wonderful about it as well is it becomes habit. And this is how we originally breathe. We belly breathe. Like when we're babies, we belly breathe. When we're laying on our sides in like a fetal position, sleeping, we belly breathe. We may not realize it, but we are. I bet you next time you do it, yeah, you're gonna pay attention. You'll be like, oh wow, Ramses was right. But this is how we do it. But then we're taught to start breathing with our chest for whatever, you know, for several different reasons. But when we come back to this original way of breathing, you'll find that you feel more invigorated, more energized.
Trying to do it.
Yeah, and it takes like actually I can say this for after, but it helps strengthen our lungs, breathing like that. It helps strengthen our diaphragm. When we breathe with our chest, we're not getting full breaths. And a lifetime of that actually leads to our slow suffocation.
Wow.
We don't call it that. Like we just call it respiratory problems, but it's actually we're slowly suffocating and breathing stale air. But I was glad to be able to share that. You can do that anytime, and I hope that visualization of the pyramid helped as well. I love that in practice. There's so many visualizations that other practices just don't have, and it just adds another layer to the tasty cake that is Kemetic Yoga.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Yes, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching The Art of Self.
The Art of Self.
Yes.